So I would like to start with you, Skip, on this one. Whose side are you on here?
I am on Darrelle Revis' side, as I was from the start when I found myself right in the middle of this beef at the outset, which was shortly after the 2012 season. I want to remind everybody, at that point, Richard was taking shots at everybody. Tom Brady, Roddy White, A.J. Green. And the point was that this is in March of 2013. Richard asked at that point to come on First Take with me and Stephen A. Smith.
Right.
And his point through his rep to us was that he had taken on so many people via Twitter and publicly that he didn't want to do that anymore. He just wanted to talk some off-season football. And I said, okay, we'll just open up talking about football. We were on an abbreviated show that was on regular ESPN that day in the afternoon. And I thought it was going to be fairly tame, except Richard was a little late, and he wasn't quite mic'd up as the interview was supposed to start. So they asked me to sort of vamp for a moment while he got hooked up. Well, he'd been going back and forth already with Darrelle Revis. And what had happened was that Richard, just for the backstory, actually started all this when in a Twitter Q&A, he was asked to rank his top 5 cornerbacks, and he didn't put Revis in his top 5. This is right after the 2012 season, early 2013. And you were close with Darrelle because you were his teammate for many years with the Jets. And the point was, Richard took a shot by saying, well, he didn't even play last year, so I'm not going to put him in the top 5. And Revis fired back on Twitter. This is back then. This dude just steady putting my name in his mouth to get notoriety, which was the truth. And then Richard fired back on Twitter at Darrelle. This is before the First Take, just before the First Take show. Your name will be irrelevant once you step back on the field. I'm living off performance. You're living off reputation. So that was hot, but we had decided on First Take not to do that. But as I vamped, I made the point that I know they've been going back and forth, and that right now, to me, Revis is the better corner because he's been doing it for 6 years and made 4 Pro Bowls, and Richard had only been doing it for 2. And I said, not yet. You're not yet the better cornerback than Darrelle. I mean, it's Darrelle Revis. It was Revis Island. You were in the middle of all that. So Richard, I assume, heard this as he was getting mic'd up, and when Kerry Champion asked the first just sort of, non-controversial question, he just exploded all over me. He got very personal about it, said he's better at life than I am. And I'm like, what do you know about my life? Because I didn't know him and he didn't know me. But the point was that I began to argue back at him exactly what happened last night. I said, you can't consider yourself better than Darrelle Revis because he travels and you never travel. And nobody had really picked up on this yet, but I said, you do not follow the other team's best receiver. You don't take the ultimate challenge game after game like Darrelle does. And you know that he did take that challenge. So the point is that I finished my argument with him by saying, you are backed up by the 2 best safeties in pro football. You're a zone corner with Cam Chancellor behind you and that Earl behind you, because those 2 guys, is there anybody better than those 2 at that point? That was the early part of Legion of Boom, right?
Yes.
So the point was that Revis couldn't help himself last night, and he had to drive it back. Remember, Richard started this back after the 2012 season, and when Revis saw him give up the bomb last night to Devontae, and I don't know who was supposed to be back. Somebody was supposed to have some deep help there. And I don't know how Richard wound up man-to-man on him because it looked man-to-man when he's a zone corner. But then Richard got even late in the game and basically ended the game with some double coverage, and he got behind the receiver and caught the interception that ended the game.
Well, Sherman tried to jump the under route. That's what Sherman tried. He was trying to get a cheap pick late in the ball game. That's what happens.
Right. Well, he did. Okay, I got it. So, again, I'm going to hang with Darrelle on this just because I have so much respect for him, and I've had many arguments with Darrelle about, is he better than Deion? No, he's not better than Deion. But he's better than Richard Sherman because Richard has always been nothing but the zone corner.
the way I look at it like this.
Go ahead.
I'm on Sherman's side for this. Now, I do believe that Revis at his height was better than Sherman at his best. But Revis has been retired for 3 years. What are you talking about now? You sitting around waiting for the man to give up. Now, forget the guy is going to the Pro Bowl in year 9. He's playing at a very high level. Now, we do remember, Revis, your last year, bro, you stole. There's no other way around it. You was bull jiving out there. You stole their money. And they say, you know what? We're not going to let you steal anymore. We're going to give you $6 million to go away. So they bought out the last year and they said, just go away because he was. But Skip, back then, this is now. Revis is, Sherman's still playing at a high level. And I think that bothers him. I think that bothers Revis because he's still playing at a high level. I don't know if he loved the game, but I don't know if he put the preparation in as far as physically training because as he started to get older, now Revis never had that statuesque body. And the one thing that you can't do as you become an athlete, Skip, is you start to get old, if you don't stay in shape, that thing goes down in a hurry.
Little Crow knows this. Darrelle didn't keep his body the way he should keep it.
No, I'll say the last couple of years, no. But the biggest thing, this is what I want everybody to get to. So, me and Sherman, I've gone back and forth with Sherman too about the whole not traveling thing. You're a zone corner, but you got to think at the end of the day, it's about scheme. The scheme is not asking him to go travel. To go to this receiver or go to the receiver. The scheme is not asking him to always play man to man. The scheme, he's doing exactly what he's being coached to do. And I think everybody need to realize that we don't have to sit here and argue, who's the best quarterback. Who cares anymore? If the man is out there doing his job every single day, week in and week out, that's all that should matter. Like, me and Sherman have had a sit-down conversation. I just like, you know what? I get what you're saying now. You don't have to travel. So you're doing. I travel, but that was what was asked of me.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, me and Revis, it was either one a week I had the number 1 receiver, Revis had the number 2. Or he had number 1, and I had the number 2. That's what was asked of us in that defense. They're not asking Sherman to do that. They're asking him to play his zone, do what you're supposed to do. When we call the man-to-man, play it to your best.
Wait a second. I am shocked you have turned on your man.
I'm not turning. I'm not turning on anybody. Look, I've been retired for almost 3 years now. It's just time to play. It's time to really let it go and really look at football. It's not a...
Maybe you sit down. It sounds like Sherman won you over.
Nah, ain't nobody win me over. Because Revis still my boy. He did what he did. He went out and he played at the highest level. No, you can't take that away. The 2009 season, one of the best seasons a defensive back could ever have as a defensive back. Nobody's not gonna match that. Revis is to me like Shannon said. You put their years and year together. Revis is still the best corner. I just don't think talking about who's travel, who's doing this. It doesn't matter anymore.
But the thing with me with Revis, he's talking like Sherman's a fourth corner. Like, bro, you a nickelback. You're just coming on the field, and he's not that. Look.
Okay, but I think you both would agree. It's much harder to travel than a play zone corner.
Yes, it is.
Trust me, it is. It's the toughest thing you could do because you're not only traveling in man, you're traveling in zone too.
Right.
And we're going to do
you playing left, right, you playing the
nickel,
slot.
Yes. You're going to do all that stuff. But
because you have to stand in the middle of the field, wait until they break the huddle and say, he's going
we gotta
there, I'm going to go there.
But that's what it's asked of us, though.
Right. Because
that's what we're doing.
You're capable.
It's also but Rex Ryan
I'm not
defense.
sure Richard is capable of doing that.
I believe he would if they'd ask him. Because you got to realize when he started, he had Brandon Browner on one side. Brandon was a very physical corner, and then he had Brett McField, who once he got out of Seattle, we saw what happened when he went to Philadelphia. He wasn't the same. But Skip, you can only in a defensive scheme, you can only do what's asked of you. If they don't ask you to rush the passer, well, his sack total is down. Well, they don't let me rush the passer. So he's complaining about Sherman. You need to get on Pete Carroll or the defensive coordinator that they don't require that of a guy that's a top-tier corner. Don't be mad at Sherman.
Hey, all I know is I watched a playoff game at Cincinnati. You might remember this. And Darrelle took Chad Johnson and just took him out of the game.
Yeah,
it was Revis Island.
Think about this. That game also, Chad wanted to face up against him every single time. That was the whole plan. That was Chad's whole thing. Chad going to a game, hey, I'm going to get wherever Revis at, put me on his side.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? But that's the thing.
You might rethink that now.
Right? But I'm just saying, that was a competitive side. But we got to sit here and stop trying to figure out, well, if he don't travel, he's not the best.
Right.
we just got to look. Hey, if the defense don't look at the defense and look what the defense is asking him. Like my first couple of years, I never traveled. I didn't travel until I got to the Jets. They didn't ask me to travel.
Right.
Ron Rivera never asked me to travel. Wade Phillips never asked me to travel. Ted Cottrell never asked me to travel. I played the right side corner, and that was it.
And guess what? You got to the AFC Championship game because you were both traveling.
Well, I got to the AFC Championship game when I didn't travel. When I had Sherman, Louis Castillo, Jamal Williams, all those guys, Shannon Phillips, all in front of me. I didn't have to travel.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.